Hello. I'm sure most of you recognize me from seeing my picture in the freighter or on visits to your location. However, if not, I'm Bob Lawrence. I'm President and Chief Executive Officer for CF MotorFreight. During the past decade, we have been presenting videos such as this, outlining our results of our previous year and our plans for the upcoming year. Because of the changes that have been taking place and our current performance during the past 2 years, I have decided to do this video myself. Today I'll be covering the industry background and what has been taking place, the industry forces that we have to deal with, CF MotorFreight's current position in the marketplace, and what we believe must be our competitive response to ensure our future. I will conclude by presenting our 1993 plan. In 1980, President Carter signed into law the current Motor Carrier Act. With it, he virtually deregulated our industry. In 1981, carriers were free to enter without barrier. They were free to use price without restrictions. So new carriers start coming on board. Prior to 1980, carriers had to have approval from the Interstate Commerce Commission, and there also had to be a need by the shippers in order for them to enter the market. Also with deregulation, carriers had the freedom to discount prices. Prior to 1980, the ICC set the prices. All carriers had to charge that price. Between 82 and 89, many carriers have went out of business, primarily because they were either underfinanced or unable to change, to adapt to the current environment. Many of you probably remember these carriers and might even work for some of them. During that period of time, CF MotorFreight grew dramatically. In fact, we doubled our size during that 10-year period. However, not only did we grow, but new competition grew. Because of freedom of entry, new, low-cost, non-union carriers have been entering the market. And I should mention that while we doubled our size during the 80s, the industry growth for the long-haul carriers have been virtually flat, growing at only approximately 2% per year. By the end of 1990, we and most everyone had thought that consolidation was virtually complete and that prices would start firming up and we'd be able to improve our profitability. However, about that time, the recession set in, and the combination of continuing discounts and a flat market has caused our revenues to be flat during the past 2 years while costs have been going up. Our profit margins and our profits have deteriorated substantially. To give you an example of how the industry has performed during the past decade or so, this graph reflects that margins have averaged only 2%. As a rule of thumb, for our industry, you need profit margins of better than 3% in order to recapitalize. 2% just doesn't get it done. With regard to CF MotorFreight's margin during this past decade, I'm proud to say we've had one of the best, and we did pretty good. However, as you can see on this graph, we've been declining very rapidly, and the past 2 years, our margins have only been 2%. That is not enough to recapitalize our business. CF MotorFreight is a mature company with a large share of the market, and we've been very efficient over the years. However, things have been changing and changing rapidly. I think this graph kind of depicts how we're being squeezed by all ends. If you look at the middle box, that pretty much represents CF, Roadway, in yellow, and we've had a competitive rivalry with them for many, many years. Customers look at Roadway, CF, and yellow all about the same, and they're willing to switch from one to the other at the drop of a hat. Customers also recognize that they have substitutes or alternatives. They can go to low-cost carriers, such as truckload carriers who have distribution capabilities, like J.B. Hunt and Snyder, or they can go to regional carriers who have intermodal rail connections and give them the long-haul freight that they historically have given to us. Also, the new entrants up the top box, the potential entrants, I can name some of them. You've had Northwest and Watkins, who are specializing in city pairs. And I don't mind telling you, they are growing in leaps and bounds, primarily with freight that we used to haul. We also have UPS, Federal Express, and Roadway package systems nipping away at the low weight brackets. And you have the truckload carriers going after the high LTL weight brackets. And on the right-hand side of the chart, you can see a box that says buyers. That's our customers. Like most businesses, 80% of our business comes from only 20% of our customers. Customers know their bargaining power, and they use it to squeeze us to improve service and reduce costs. They pay our salary. We need those customers. We have to find a way to be competitive to ensure they don't switch to one of our competitors, either historic or a new entrant. The other box on the left-hand side is suppliers. We have to buy terminals and pay rented terminals. We have to buy trucks. We have to buy fuel. But the most important and the highest cost we have is payroll. 67% of our cost is payroll and benefit related. That is an opportunity. We have to get our costs down. Customer requirements are changing. Customers are looking at the total logistics supply chain as an opportunity to improve their business. They want faster service times from the time their customer calls them to the time we make delivery to the time they collect their check, and they expect us to play an integral role in improving that service. Customers also want specific services. They do not want a generic system that we have been selling for years. They want us to have specialized capabilities. An example, Hewlett-Packard ships to all over the country and demands 4-day service everywhere, regardless of the day they ship. There are certain days of the week, in order for us to perform this service, we have to actually fly the freight. An example, if it comes off the West Coast, we have to fly it to Boston on Monday. The rest of the week we can do it because we have the weekend to work with. Another example is American Greeting Card. They manufacture greeting cards and tender to us months before they want them delivered in the stores. So we have to take the freight, segregate it, consolidate it by store, and then deliver it to every store all over the country all on the same day. This is a specific customer requirement. Customers see transportation as a way to reduce their cost. They have keyed in on distribution costs as a way to improve their own margins. In fact, customers want carriers to provide value to their business. In other words, they want us to develop technology that reduces their cost. So far, I have described what is going on in our industry. Now I'll try to describe what we have to do in order to ensure our future. We have to improve our financial performance by diminishing our focus on growth and placing increased emphasis on profit by becoming the low-cost carrier to targeted large and medium-sized shippers. All this sounds good, but how are we going to do it? We've listed some initiatives that we've already implemented. We're going to use technology to reduce cost, increase employee involvement, realign our freight flow network, reduce layers of management, increase partnering efforts with our accounts, and develop new services. With regard to technology, we need to increase our labor efficiency through computer planning and operational optimizing. We need to reduce our administrative costs by using our image processing capabilities even more than we are now. We need to improve our service through better identification of time-definite shipments. For your information, we have active projects such as freight flow automation, onboard computers, computer-aided dispatch, and online parts and labor currently underway. The one-time cost to develop these projects is $29 million, and the annualized savings will be $50 million once completely implemented. To accomplish our objectives, we need employee involvement. Like I said, 67% of our cost is payroll related. We need you to become more involved in our Excel process, to identify problems and develop solutions to help reduce costs and eliminate waste. I will be increasing my efforts to communicate and outline to Mr. Carey and the IBT what we need to do in order to ensure that we can compete on a level playing field with the new entrants who have come into the business, and that is flexibility. That is the most important thing we need today to compete with these new entrants, flexibility. An example of what I'm talking about, non-union carriers like Watkins, J.B. Hunt, Schneider, CRST, and many, many others use rail because it's cheaper. Even though the wages they pay their drivers are substantially less than what we pay our drivers, they still find it's cheaper to use rail than it is to have drivers drive across the country. Because of contractual restrictions, we do not have the flexibility to use rail as much as we need to. When I mention flexibility, I'm not just talking about line haul. We need it at the terminals also. We need flexible starting times, 10-hour work shifts, split work weeks, weekend straight time. Let's face it, if that's what we have to do, then we have to do it. To give you an example of what 40,000 pounds of freight means, whether we grow it or keep it, it means 8 jobs. 2 transport operators, 2 dockmen, 2 P&D drivers, and 2 support personnel. If we gain 40,000 pounds because we are competitive, we would gain 8 jobs. However, we're not competitive because of our restrictions. If we had the flexibility, we might only gain 6 jobs because we're putting more freight up on the rail, but 6 jobs better than no jobs. And if we had increased terminal flexibility, we might only gain 5 jobs instead of 8, but again, that's better than no jobs or losing jobs. We have already started to realign our freight flow network. During 1992, we reduced from 663 terminals to 602. These were terminals we opened up throughout the 80s. They were opened up in locations that we felt would have tremendous growth. Unfortunately, the growth did not develop as we had expected. Consequently, it is now more efficient to close those terminals and move them back into larger terminals. Also, throughout the 80s, we expanded our consolidation center network. We've added to almost every one of our consolidation centers or replaced it with a new consolidation center. Now that we have capacity, we're going to start moving local operations back in. That'll improve our efficiency. This year, we will be replacing our equipment on schedule. However, we are not going to add equipment to our fleet, and nor will we add in the future until we can get our profit margins at a level that we can afford recapitalization. We are working to improve our line haul efficiency. We had just recently had 2 changes of operations, one in the south and one in Chicago. And we are setting up our line haul operations to where we can improve our service in the 2-day lanes. Our 2-day lane service is not as good as it has to be in order to compete. Cost reduction affects all of us and all aspects of our business. We have recently restructured our company to reduce our payroll and eliminate bureaucracy so we can expedite customer requests. We've reduced from 5 areas to 4 regions. We've eliminated our area staffs, which amounts to 90 less people. We've reduced from 31 divisions to 24 divisions. We've restructured the organization along functional lines, enabling our terminal managers to go directly to the department head in the corporate headquarters in Menlo Park without having to go through the division or the area offices. We're also streamlining our communications, like I say, so we can react faster to customer requests. We have been working very hard at increasing partnering efforts at our major accounts. We are trying to promote single sourcing. Single sourcing is a win-win situation for both the customer and CF. We get more shipments per pickup, more shipments per delivery. That improves our efficiency and obviously our customers benefit. We're expanding our national account support activities. In effect, in some cases, we are placing a national account executive on the premises of one customer, and that is his sole responsibility, is that customer. We have increased our team approach towards major accounts. We are assigning people from our MIS department, our accounting department, our operating departments, and sales to service a given customer. A customer now can go to 1, 2, 3, or 4 people on the team versus having to go through the various departments in the system to get their issues resolved. We are working proactively to keep our existing customers. As you've all probably have read somewhere or another, it costs 10 times as much to replace a customer than it does to keep it. We need to keep every one of our existing customers. We cannot afford to lose them and then have to replace them. In order to enhance our position, we are developing new services with low initial cost. In other words, we're trying to grow business that moves within our existing freight flow system, such as our prime time service, which is an expedited service which a customer tells us when it absolutely has to be there, and we guarantee we will get it there or he gets his money back. Our Truck Plus, which is a coast-to-coast 3-day service. We're expanding our efforts in Europe, Mexico, South and Central America, the Caribbean. I've already mentioned the 2-day lanes. We've implemented 55 new 2-day lane services in the past several months. As I said, our plan is to place more emphasis on profit and less on growth. Our plan for 1993 is to grow our tonnage only 0.8%. Our revenues will grow only 1.5%. However, we're looking to improve our operating profit 42.6%, or from $46.3 million to $66 million. However, as you can see, we are still only projecting a 3% margin, and as I've already mentioned, a 3% margin is not enough to afford recapitalization. Most of our improvements in 1993 will come from efficiency improvements. We are projecting to reduce our terminal cost $9.7 million. That'll come from just a 15-pound per hour P&D improvement and a 24-pound per hour dock improvement. We are looking to reduce our line haul cost over $10 million, and that's going to come from just a 366-pound load factor improvement. That's a 1% efficiency improvement. And if you go back throughout the 80s, that is about what we were averaging every year throughout the 80s, 1% operational efficiency improvement. We've done it for 10 years in a row. We can do it again in 1993. To accomplish our objectives in 1993, we're going to have to invest $84,887,000. And that compares to only a $66 million profit. So our capital expenditures in 93 will be almost $20 million more than the profits we're going to make. Our 1993 plan is reasonable and attainable. I expect we will attain it. However, my major concern is long-term, our long-term survival, the long-term survival of the unionized portion of our industry. I believe what I presented outlined why I'm concerned and why you also should be concerned. CF Inc. and our board of directors who represent our shareholders are solidly behind us and will continue to fund all of our capital requirements, including funding technology improvements. However, the best equipment, facilities, and technology will not do what the 22,000 of us can do if we work together to eliminate waste. I want to thank you for viewing this video. I am confident that we will make our 1993 plan. I think you're the best employees in the industry, and I give you my commitment that I will do my absolute best to ensure that CF MotorFreight remains financially strong and we provide job security and a quality of life for you and your families. Thank you.